Hello everybody and welcome to the third Halloween horror hero concept. The third character in our Halloween horrors collection. We have come to Nebula's Den, also known as the practice range, because we have a journey to go on. We are going to be going over the third and final character of the Halloween horrors collection. That, of course, is the first reason, and the second reason is we need to kill the old man once or twice. We will try to kill him one more time. He is a challenge, but I believe with my immense skills, he will go down. So now that the old man has been now the old man has been felled within Nebula's domain, we can get on with the hero concept. You will have seen the title. And you know how we roll. We're going to try and get through this a little bit quickly. It is a support, and her name is Spirit. Spirit is going to be a very small support. And once again, we're kind of working along the lines of, you know, these are the Halloween characters. They don't really have any lore. They're just sort of horrific visages that are terrifying to find yourself up against. But in terms of size, they are going to be really small. I would think of her similar to Moira, but think of Moira if she was more hunched and more sort of small, like a crouching Moira. We'll go with a crouching Moira as our best estimate, which does mean that she's kind of got that Zen feel, where Zen feels like he's a little bit small, but he's also very round, so a shotgun pellet into the middle of him is much easier than someone who's a little less round. She's not that round. I guess she's more like Anna. She's kind of like an Anna-sized character. Would be my... Yeah, you know, Anna's a perfect comparison for Spirit. So, yeah, let's get straight into the kit of this horrific entity. Spirit's primary fire is going to be called Soul Rush. Channel a stream of cursed souls protecting allies whilst haunting enemies. So this is a potent beam attack, essentially, and it works in a similar capacity to Moira's entire ultimate. So if we get Moira's ultimate out, Moira's ult does damage to any on the enemy team, whereas it will heal allies. It's worth noting that, unlike Moira's ult, it cannot pierce targets, and it cannot pierce shields. So just as a general idea, it's not... don't worry, do not fear, it is nothing comparable to Moira's ult in terms of actual effectiveness. So Moira's ult has the champion, but it is the same type of beam. Think of it much thinner, however. This is relatively quite a thick beam. The Channel of Souls is roughly going to be... I mean, I think it's thinner than this, but it's about that thickness, about the thickness of Moira's left click. So, what does it do? She shoots... this will essentially channel 10 souls, which will travel out per second, and they will travel up to 60 meters away. So, quite a massive range. Just to give you a general idea, her range is absolutely nuts. That is 40 meters. So, realistically, she can heal you no matter how far away you are. That's 55, 70. You can see the line of sight doesn't even go 60 here. However, once an enemy hero, or once a hero is beyond 30 meters, so as soon as I leave this range, your effectiveness halves. Now, I know there's a fall-off system in Overwatch, and that tends to be much more popular, or used much more often, but I thought I would just experiment with the idea that beyond 30 meters, the souls become strained, and they're unable to do their maximum effectiveness. If it hits an enemy, then it will deal 90 damage per second to that target, which means that within this sort of range, she can just beam someone down with 90 damage per second. Pretty damn rude, if you ask me, and now that I've said it out loud, these numbers could do with a little bit of testing. Let me think. I think maybe that number's too big. I think toning it down to 80 is a good start. In fact, I'm already... It's for you. You would have read 80 on the card because I've already changed it. Because 80 damage per second is 80, 160, 240, which means just over 3 seconds to kill someone, which is a little bit of a slow time to kill, obviously, but one, she's a support, and two, she can dome you from all the way over here, right? It's not meant to be dueling damage, it's meant to be poke damage. So yeah, if it hits a damaged ally, and it will pass through allies who are on full health, if an ally has 4 health, then your soul will just go straight through them and potentially hit someone else, so you don't need to worry about a full health target body blocking the shot. Same way that Anna works, same way that Juno works. It's a nice quality of life feature in the game. And if it hits a damaged ally, it will heal them for 100 health per second. So quite a big heal per second there. 100, quite a good amount. That's more than Anna. That's more than Moira, although Moira also has healing orb, but we'll get to that. So yeah, this is quite a big healer. However, the damage and the healing is halved beyond 30 meters, which can, you know, be tweaked once again. Spirit will hold 40 souls which can be fired, and upon halting she regenerates 20 per second. So she can fire for up to 4 seconds, and then after 4 seconds she will have to stop shooting, and as soon as she stops shooting she will regenerate 20 shots per second, or 10 shots every half a second. So you can hold for half a second, and then 10 shots will be back, shoot 1 second, hold half a second, if you really want to. Which is an effective healing of 100 every 1.5 seconds. But of course in burst she can just fire the full 4 seconds to keep people healed up, and it recharges pretty damn quick. Now Moira, if you check hers, is quite slow. I guess if you do this it's not so slow, but anyway. So she is quite a strong healer. The goal is for her to be primarily a healer. I'm a big fan of the full healers stuff, where most of the healers do most of the healing as opposed to, you know, them doing healing and damage. But let's move to the alternate fire. So Spirit's alternate fire is called Spirit Walk. Now this is probably one of the more interesting abilities in Overwatch. I haven't seen anything like it just yet. There's a few things that are comparable to it, but there is nothing like it just yet. And to explain Spirit Walk, we're going to quickly change to Reaper. So Spirit Walk is an ability with a 12-second cooldown and an 8-second duration. So you will hold your alternate... Oh, and the cooldown starts when the duration ends, by the way, just to be... It goes on a 12-second cooldown as soon as you stop Spirit Walking. Essentially, you will hold alternate fire, and you become intangible but visible. The best way to describe this is this. Literally, it's Wraith form. You don't actually move faster, so Reaper, of course, moves faster in Wraith form. But Spirit Walk, you don't move faster, you just become completely intangible. If you run into a wall, you will force your way through the wall, but it takes 0.8 seconds to go through the wall. The idea being that the wall has to be a thin wall. If it's a thick wall, then you just won't. So, for example, this wall here, there's no interior, so if you walk into this wall, nothing will happen. But if you walk into this wall, you will do an animation where she puts her hand on the wall and then sort of claws her way through the other side. And that will happen over 0.8 seconds, so it's fairly quick. If you claw through a wall, you will lose 4 seconds of Spirit Walk, so going through a wall halves the amount of max time you can be Spirit Walking. So the idea is that whilst you're going through a wall, time will go 5 times faster. 0.8 times 5 equals 4. But if you want, you can just be immune to damage for 8 whole seconds and just sit around doing nothing. However, you cannot do any action whilst you're Spirit Walking. You also cannot contest objectives while Spirit Walking. You can't shoot, you can't use your other abilities, you're essentially just surviving. But you can survive for a very long time, and I envisage that Spirit is going to be, excuse the pun, but a nightmare to kill. They virtually impossible if she's holding that Spirit Walk to survive. But then if she's holding Spirit Walk to survive all the time, then she's not using it offensively or to ways that are gonna. I'm really clutching at straws. It's really good for surviving, basically. So Her next ability is the Horrific Talisman. This is her first ability. I'm going to retake that for the chapter's sake. Her first ability is going to be called Horrific Talisman, which if you were here 5 seconds ago, you would know. You throw a talisman, which upon landing will shatter, summoning a haunting spirit, which will drain hostiles and passes its health to allies. So the way this works is you will toss an arcing talisman at 30 meters per second, so it's a relatively slow moving projectile. And it has quite an arc, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to throw it ridiculously far. But, I think that's a faster moving projectile on Biotic Grenade. Upon landing, it will shatter and summon a haunting spirit with 120 health, but it has a maximum health of 400. So it will actually summon a ghost entity on your team, which will sit exactly where it landed. This has 120 health and has a maximum health of 400. And to be clear, the enemy team can just shoot this talisman. They can just shoot it if they want to. And it will do damage to that 120 health. But this entity doesn't just sit around and exist. It will curse any hostile within 10 meters of it. So just to clarify how close 10 meters is, that is the 10 meter radius to there and a 10 meter radius to there. So both of these people would be affected in the zone. So it's quite a large area. I'd be tempted to tone it down to 8 meters, but I'll leave it at 10 for now. This will drain 40 health per second from hostiles in the area, so 40 damage per second is going to be dealt to any enemy in that circle, so not a huge amount of damage, but certainly not something you can ignore forever. That's going to kill you in, well, 7 seconds on its own. And don't forget that 40 damage per second that it's doing will heal the Haunting Spirit, and it can heal itself up to 400 health. However, damaged allies within that area will drain 60 health per second from the spirit. So this is quite a complicated ability, but it creates a ghost, which will drain health from these two to sustain itself. So from if I threw it here, it would be draining 40 health from this guy and 40 health from this guy. So the spirit would be up to 200 health, because it started at 120. And if I was in this area, then the spirit would have also given me 60 health over the 1 second duration, so he'll be sitting at 140, if that makes any sense. So heals allies by sacrificing its own health, and drains health from enemies within the area. I think this is a really neat idea. The enemies can damage the spirit to prevent it from healing, but at the moment I have it that the spirit cannot be killed, because ultimately it would just die instantaneously, right? Someone would shoot it in the head and it would just die because it can't move. Ryan hits it twice and it's gone. You know, it's really easy to kill it, so it can't go below 1 health. However, damaging it does give you the advantage that it's not going to be healing its teammates quite as much. But of course, don't forget that it drains 40 health from an enemy and will do 60 health to an ally. So even if there's just 1v1 and you deck the spirit down to 1 health, the spirit is still going to be doing 40 damage to you and heal 40 health to your to the person you're trying to kill. So, you know, it's a very big advantage. The spirit lasts for 8 seconds and it has a 19-second cooldown. I did think a lot about that cooldown, and I'm going to just level quickly. I thought a lot about this character's kit, and there was quite a lot of parts of the kit that really kind of I wasn't really that sure about, essentially. So, you know, I eventually decided that if I spend ages trying to think about it and actually try to come up with, like, an actual idea, essentially, then it's just going to be, like, I'm going to be here forever. I'm never going to just decide without testing on this character. It's too complicated of a character to, you know, fully decide without testing. So I just decided, toss it out there. By the way, this is after Halloween, of course. This was the only video I didn't record during Halloween. So apologies once again for them all being late. So, yep. that's the horrific talisman. So, moving on to the next one. Spirit's second ability is called Soul Shell. This is her emergency support ability. So what does it do? Form a soul shell around an ally, protecting them from incoming damage. This can target an ally up to 50 meters away, and it will give them 125 overhealth for 6 seconds on a 10-second cooldown. This is a bit of an interim heal, so in between sort of being able to do damage to stuff, in between, you know, healing and maybe you need to reload or let your souls recharge a bit, you can just give an ally 125 overhealth for 6 seconds. It has a 10-second cooldown. I think 12 seconds might be okay, but I think I'm happy with 10 seconds, actually, now that I think about it. She's not the biggest healer in the world, she does only, but so it could be really handy to give someone that bit of protection. It's her way of healing someone if they can't really sit inside of her spiritual zone or the talisman. So yeah, it's a very simple ability, that, and I'm actually relatively happy with that. If I was going to nerf anything, it would be the talisman. I think the talisman, I could potentially, just as a thing, reduce its healing to 30 health per second. Or sorry, its damage down to 30 damage per second, and it'll be fine. But we'll see. I liked it as an idea of like a damaging ability, essentially. Anyway, moving on. The final Spirit's ultimate ability is called Spirit Torrent. At the moment, I've got it requiring 2.8k ult charge, so it's a big ultimate. Tear a scar in the fabric of reality, sundering the land in a line ahead of you, doing heavy damage and scarring hostiles. This scar leaves a torrent of souls which damages and slows hostiles while speeding and healing allies. A lot to unpack with this ultimate ability, so let's get on with it. It is actually, once again, somewhat similar to Moira's ult, but it's functionally quite different. So, here we go. Screaming horrific rage, tearing a scar in the fabric of reality, sundering the land in a 2-meter radius up to 60 meters ahead of you. So, I mean, I once again, I'm just going to have to keep bringing Moira up. But when I say a 2-meter radius, I mean a 2-meter radius like that. It's a beam in a 2-meter radius. This will instantly do 50 damage to all enemy heroes struck. So it's a beam. Think of it. Is there any comparable ability? Imagine if Moira's ult just cast once, and instead of being like boom and then channeled, after the initial hit, you immediately stopped casting it. It's not a channeled ultimate, essentially, is what I'm saying. You cast it, and a beam instantly strikes. It's not... Yeah, I guess actually we'll get to what's happened now. All enemy heroes struck to take 50 damage, and their maximum health is reduced by 100 for 3 seconds. So effectively you've done 150 damage to them. But actually in reality, they have taken 150 damage. Because they took 50 damage, and now their max health is reduced by 100. So they're now down to 100 health. But crucially, for the next 3 seconds, they cannot be healed above 150 health, which makes them very vulnerable for those 3 seconds. That's why the duration is very low. Your team has to really be quick to react to that, and you got to be somewhat accurate with this ultimate. It's worth noting that this ultimate goes through walls, so it's very similar to Hanzo's Dragon Strike in that regard. You can shoot it through the wall, and it will instantly hit them. So yeah, not much for them to do there, other than, you know, if you know they've got an ult, don't stack up. If 1 or 2 people get hit, they need to be protected, that sort of stuff. However, that's not all. When this is used, the torrent will leave a scar in the fabric of reality once again, doing 30 which will do 30 damage per second and slow hostiles in the area by 30%. So in this regard, it's actually similar to Hanzo's Dragon Strike, which does go through walls, and it will leave the dragons. Her ult's a little bit smaller, but it does more instant damage, and the damage over time is fairly minimal. It's 30 damage per second, but it does do a 30% slow, which is pretty brutal to be within. Allies within the beam, so if you do like a beam like here, if you run your team through the Torrent, they will instead be gaining 30 health per second and will move 30% faster, with the Torrent lasting for 5 seconds. This is quite a potent and powerful team ability. Think of it as a perpendicular Juno ult. Juno's ult creates a beam like this from the sky. Now make it perpendicular and shoot it that way and have it do instant damage to enemies. But no damage boost for allies, just movement speed for allies and slow for enemies if they are inside the beam. But they do get that 3 seconds of 100 less maximum health. So, how do I envision Spirit to be played? So Spirit, I actually think in the current state that I've done here, is way too strong. Initially, my idea was to make her sort of a mix of Moira and Ana. I liked Horrific Talisman being the sort of anti-nade-ish style ability, where if your tank and their tank were duking it out, you could throw the Talisman down, and that gives a much bigger advantage to your tank. You've swung it, you know, in your tank's favour by 60 damage and, well, 40 damage and 60 health per second. That's quite a significant boost in terms of a duel, and if there's more enemies, that's going to be even more potent. The Soul Shell was sort of like the, oh shoot, I just need lots of healing, or I just need a bit of a cover, a bit of protection essentially, just to make sure that the person does indeed survive. And to be clear, that Soul Scar for the ultimate does get cleansed by Suzu Charm. I think that's totally fair, and I think that's a fair exchange. I think that's how that should work. I see Spirit being this very hard to kill healer, who sort of likes to probably play fairly backed because she's got good range on her abilities. I see her as pretty difficult to actually deal with, and I feel like she's ultimately going to be almost impossible to kill. The only good thing is that her survivability ability has a long cooldown, 12 seconds. But I do think, well, Spirit Walk, I think that ultimately she is going to be very, very potent as a long-range support, able to swing fights with a very potent ultimate if she gets a good hit on it. So yeah, I do think Spirit is super strong, but I think they should all release pretty strong. I would say if I was probably looking back on it again, I'm not going to change it now because that's what I've said, what I said. I would make Spirit Walk a 6-second duration at max as opposed to 8. And I think Haunting Spirit could last. No, Haunting Spirit's fine. Her ultimate maybe only reduce their maximum health by 50. But I don't know, I'm sort of comparing it to Iliari's ult, and I'm kind of feeling like Iliari's ult basically reduces their health by 100 when they take a big hit of damage. Seems fair to me. The only thing I think I would change right now is Spirit Walk max duration down to 6 seconds. But either way, that's Spirit. She is the final character of our Halloween Horrors collection. So if you want to see those guys in the game or you want to get them, head to the Battle.net store and you'll be able to purchase them for $19.99. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me on this journey. And I'm going to just let you know that I do have some more hero concepts in the work. Actually, I've got loads of them ready to go. I just need to do the video for them. But I think it's about time that we actually do the new series, which is going to be the Nebula's Remakes. I'll come up with a better name. Neb Remake? Remake Neb? Neb Remakes. It's where I'm going to go over current heroes, make them a new kit, which accomplishes the same goals as the other characters. And the first one is Mercy, because I have done one already for Mercy. and I'll look about maybe some of these other healers about what I could do, and come up with 3 supports that are going to be reworked, or maybe 1 support, 1 DPS, and 1 tank. We will see. But probably not tank, just because I've already done the fix in tanks, and that has multiple reworks. But anyway, that is going to be all. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for these being late once again, but yeah, sorry. But yeah, I will get back to you next time. Adios.